Call to order the Water Utilities Community Facility District to order. Roll call.
Chairman Wilson,
Here.
Vice Chairman Schroeder,
Present.
Board Member Cross,
Here.
Board Member Heck,
Here.
Board Member Johnson,
Here.
Board Member Nesser,
Present.
Board Member Soller.
Here.
You have a quorum?
Thank you. Excuse me. Presentation and discussion and proposal district budget for fiscal year 2024-25. Go ahead.
Good evening, Chairman Wilson and members of the board. Quick presentation for you guys tonight on our proposed budget. We're going to go over our proposed budget, proposed rates and fees and charges, our classification and compensation plan, and also our budget schedule review. To kick off, I know this is a little small font here, but just give you a summary of what's happened this past year in our budget. As you can see, we're going to be in charges. This is our revenue, which is our operating sources on top. We estimated roughly $5,400,000 coming in, and projected to be a little bit over that at $6,400,000. And this is due to new development to the south and new customers coming online. We gained about 10% new customers recently here in the past 6 months to a year. We also did receive a grant this past year that'll be rolling over into 2025. And then some of our investments and earnings we have here. We will be using some of our reserves this year, which we planned on doing. I'll give you a heads up there. And then just our operating revenue here is what we spent in our debt service. We paid off one of our debt services in the past couple of years here. We still have our debt service on our 2014 loans from our WIFA loans that we got financed. As you can see here, we're roughly at $9 million this past year. We're requesting 13.8 next year. Some of that is going to be coming from, as you can see, from grants and contributions. We did receive that $1 million grant for radios. I'll be visiting with WIFA again for another $3 million for the aquifer storage and recovery well. So that's a large part of it. That's why our budget has went up this past year. We also do have some projects. There we go. For water system connection fees, roughly have about $1 million coming in next year for system connection fees, and then another $10 million come in for water resource acquisition fees. Those water resource acquisition fees are from new development to the south to go out and purchase new water supplies. So as you can see, this is an additional $10 million, and then in the bottom here at Fund 63, we have roughly $8.7 million in the bank already. If we get that extra $10 million, we're going to be around $19 to $20 million. In 2027 is when we're looking at working with SRP to fund our project with the Bartlett Dam, which will need approximately $22 to $23 million. So working towards that goal, development keeps continuing where we're at. We should be able to not go to WIFA for loans to finance that and then fund it directly from our water resource acquisition fees. We're going to be using some of our capital funds here next year with this $3.5 million. We're only taking in $1 million, so we're using some of our reserves. As you can see down here, we have a reserve balance of $4 million. So we'll be using roughly about $2.5 million of that $4 million for capital improvements. We do have a water resource acquisition fee that we pay annually, and I'll go into this in a little more detail in our budgeting on our major projects. We have $334,000 that's for our non-Indian agricultural water that we've been paying for the last 3 years, and we have 2 more payments for that water. Any questions so far? This is kind of high-level budget. You guys need some more detail, but I'll go into some of our major projects for next year also. You guys have any questions so far?
Mr. Chair. Yes.
Just my quick question: how much did you say the HA Water District portion payment was for the Bartlett Dam? Did you say $23 million?
Roughly about $23 million.
That's our portion of the cost for that.
Currently, with the water allocated to us, our cost would be roughly around $22 to $23 million currently.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, I have questions, but after your projects for next year.
Okay. Yeah, we can go into some of the major projects for next year. Just kind of give you a heads up. We're working on expanding our surface water treatment plant. We do have a backwash tank down there. It's roughly 8 to 10 years old. So we'll be looking at, as they put some new systems inside, they're recoding the inside of that tank while we have it down and doing some other maintenance in that area. So a $250,000 project there. We'll also be installing security cameras at that same plant. About $75,000 will be going out for grants for that price also. And then we're also looking to design and replace and improve our booster station 2. So booster station 2 is located at Public Works. It's been there for the last 25 years. We're going to be upgrading that for our existing customers and then also installing a couple more booster pumps as the district has grown with the new subdivisions that we have to the north, which will be funded by those system connection fees that we have there. So development paying for a portion of that. Again, we have the radios that we received a grant for $1 million from WIFA. So we do have those funds. We'll be working on spending those end of this fiscal year, going into next fiscal year. We do have our aquifer storage and recovery well, which the well's $2 million plus all the ancillary items, which will be up to $5 million. So the other $3 million will be covered by the WIFA loan, or WIFA grant, not loan, sorry. And then a construction of our advanced water purification demonstration trailer. We approved the design of that trailer this past year. So we'll be moving forward with the construction of that trailer so we can bring it out. This is just that next bucket of water that we're looking for out there. So we'll be also looking for grants to fund a portion of that project as well.
Mike, can you explain what advanced water?
Yep.
So that everybody knows.
So
Came up on social media.
So advanced water purification demonstration trailer is a new term that the Water Reuse Committee is kind of using instead of toilet to tap or effluent water to treat to potable standards. It's going to be advanced water purification because it truly is. You're going to be using 5 different treatment processes to make this water cleaner than drinking water is currently that we deliver to our customers. So it's more of an advanced purification process. So trying to label it as more so people understand what's happening and it's not just the old terms of toilet to tap and we're going to be drinking sewage water. It's truly what we're doing with that water.
I was just gonna say, current water that comes from the cap is not drinkable.
Correct.
We treat it and we drink it, and then we cycle it through the process, and it comes back to Darren's shop, and it gets treated to a certain level that's not drinkable, and then we treat it.
Correct. Then we retreat it again to
Yeah.
potable standards or even above potable standards. Yeah. So right now, potable standards require you to do 4 log removal. So that's 1 with 4 zeros after it. New standards for direct potable reuse or advanced water purification is 12 log removal. So 1 with 12 zeros after it, you have to clean the water to get to those levels. So quite a bit more than even our drinking water standards currently. Any questions?
Yeah. When you recoat the tank, how many years is that going to give you?
Typically a coating in the tank. This is kind of a corrosion area because we do use chemicals as part of that that go into that tank. But typically they last between 8 and 10 years, the coating will.
Okay.
Yes.
On the advanced water, we have one of our constituents that consistently talks about the plastics that are next to impossible to filter out. Will this be filtered out through this process?
Yes, plastics will be filtered out during this process. Hormones will be filtered out during this process. There are several processes it'll go through. This isn't something new. The rest of the world has been doing this for many years. There's several even states across the United States that are doing this in the past probably 5 to 10 years that have been doing advanced water purification. So this is not a new process, and it will take out all those constituents. It's, again, it goes back to people believing in the technology that we utilize to treat this water and believing that it works, and it does. In the end, it has been proven that it works, so it does remove all those things.
And do you have any crystal ball regarding any of our wells? Do you see any or foresee any that may have some questionable maintenance that's coming up that could turn into a fiasco or into a major overhaul?
Are you talking about just maintenance on them or different chemicals that the EPA could be coming?
Now, the well we're currently re-sleeving right now. Do we have any other wells that are scheduled for re-sleeving or full-on maintenance where we're gonna have to pull the well, or the pump itself, and then find out that, you know, it needs a new casing?
No plans right now, but typically our wells, this past one usually lasts between 5 to 7 years. We pull them, the pump will go out, we'll have to replace the pump, and then we'll actually video the well so we understand what's happening. Well 6, which is our other well that's in service currently, has been in the ground for about 4 years now. So probably in the next 2 or 3 years, we'll be pulling that well. We've had the luxury of adding a new treatment train at our surface water treatment plant. So our wells are really a backup to us at this point in time. So we won't utilize it as much, but it does give us time to do those maintenance. In the next 2 to 3 years, we'll probably be pulling that well to make sure that when we do need it, we turn it on and it actually works for us rather than being collapsed or something happened to it at that point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Anyone else? Nope.
Okay. Just some more large projects. The Salt River project, the Bartlett Dam we've been working on. We paid $200,000 of our $400,000. We roughly have 2 more payments left. So this year, and then the following year, we'll have 1 more payment left on that. And then our Central Arizona project funding of 817 acre-feet of non-Indian agricultural water, which we financed over 5 years with CAP. It's 5 years, and we're in our 4th year, sorry. So we'll be making another payment, and then we'll have 1 more the following year to finish up payment for that water. So those were all the back charges for capital that the federal government paid over the last 20 years. We had to pay them back for those. So we took a 5-year loan from CAP and been paying them back at roughly $334,000 a year. Our maintenance fees for operation of the Central Arizona project is roughly $1.3 million. You guys will see a little bit more of that here in the next few slides of what the price, how the prices of CAP water have been increasing over the past couple of years due to less water going through the canal, more maintenance on it. The maintenance costs are the same, but less water going through it, so less people to pay for that water. So prices have been going up. So kind of give you an idea where we're headed in that direction. But these are kind of major projects for 24, 25. So as you can see, this is our CAP water charges. So we have 2 different things on our chart here. Our capital fee in the past was $15. It's slowly been creeping up. We had a reserve fund that kept the balance here, brought it down for 3 to 4 years, and it's going back up, and then they're replenishing some of that fund to try keeping our capital charge down over the next 4 years. But as you can see, it was nice and steady on operation and maintenance until we hit roughly about 2021, where we did get all the cutbacks, or started going into tier 1 shortage on the CAP, and all of a sudden we go from $160 to $300, and we're looking at $350 an acre foot in 2030. So sharp increase. Again, this is affected in our rates, and this is what we've been planning for over the past. As we move forward, these rates kind of slowly climb, so we want to climb with them so that we can keep up with how the cost of water today. But big change. It was cruising along at 120, almost double and tripling in the last 20 years. So big cost coming. Again, as part of our budget, we're just trying to balance those revenues and expenditures. As mains deteriorate over 30 to 40 years, we want to get in and replace those as booster pumps fail, as well as become to the end of their useful life. We want to make sure that we maintain all that equipment so that our customers don't see any issues or no water. We want to be able to operate 24/7. So we have to be balanced with our revenues and expenditures and be reasonable with our approaches so that we don't overcharge or undercharge our customers to make sure that we give a reliable resource to them. Any questions on that? All right.
Don't see any?
Next part is our rates. So we do a rate comparison and we do a rate study. They recommended in our last rate study to raise rates 3 to 5% each year. We look out to other municipalities in the area to see what their rates are, base fees, their commodity fees, which is per thousand fee for water. As you can see here, we have a rate comparison for our base rate. Base rates pay for your general facilities, as in your chemicals, your water, your human capital. We're planning for those maintenance costs and different things like that. Your O&M usually covers electricity, chemicals, and some different things like that. So we're looking at raising our base rate from $30.03 to $31.53. In the past, we've been pretty close to the rest. Gilbert here just jumped from $25 to $38 on their base rate, but they are also building a new water treatment plant for $500 million. So raising their rates to cover some of their costs and cover their debt. Mesa's going through the same thing here, expanding their Signal Butte plant in the next 3 to 5 years. So they're getting their rates so they can afford that when they need to take out those bonds and pay back those bonds. Some of the other cities, Queen Creek, El Mirage, Maricopa, Fountain Hills, do not have CAP water. So they've been using groundwater, so they're not seeing those huge increases in the last 10 to 20 years that we're seeing, where double and tripling prices of our surface water, our raw water that we receive. They're still taking that groundwater. So their rates are staying fairly low, but still close to where we're at for our base rate. So we propose this year, anybody that's in the city limits, a base rate of increase of 5%, no changes to our consumption rate, and no changes to our tier rate. So our consumption rates are based on, if you get to certain levels, anywhere between, we have 0 to 4,000 gallons is our lifeline rate at $3.88 per thousand. And then from there it goes up, so we can promote water conservation. We're not proposing to change any of those at this point in time. Just keep that base rate so we can keep it steady as we grow. The consumption tiers, we don't want to change those. They seem to be pretty good with water conservation. We're at 100 gallons per capita per day for each person, which is very low for the valley. Most cities are around 120 to 110 gallons per person per capita, or per person. So we recognize that we must be doing something right on our water conservation, so we've left those alone. Customers outside the city limits in our county islands, we have several of those in the water district. Consumption, our base rate, we're proposing a 5% increase. Consumption rate, no change. Our consumption tier with no change. So I'll give you a little more information on that. Here's what it looks like. A customer in the city limits today pays $30.03 for their base rate. If they use 7,500 gallons, they'd be paying the commodity rate of $34.70 plus their taxes. So roughly their water bill would be $71.59. With this increase, we'd be only increasing this base rate. You go to $31.53. No consumption would change because we're not changing the rate. And then again, as we go through the process, the taxes are a little higher. We're at $73.25. So a total change in their bill from last year to this year for the same amount of water would be $1.66. So an overall increase to that customer's bill of about 2.3%. If you lived in the county, your water base rate was a little higher in the past, was $30.93. We're still proposing that 5% increase, so it'd be $32.48. And the same math applied here. 7,500 gallons, they stayed the same, we're not changing. They pay a different tax rate because they don't pay the city tax rate for utilities. The city has a special, I believe it's 3.4%, that they pay for utilities inside the city limits. If you live in a county island, you don't pay that tax, so that's why they pay a little bit higher base rate and consumption rate. So that overall increase would be $1.66 to their overall bill per month, roughly about 1.9% overall increase to their bill. In comparison, if you lived in the county for using the same amount of water and to get the same base rate, if you lived in a city, you'd be paying $73.25, and if you lived in a county island, you'd be paying $86.18. Do you have any questions on some of those rate increases we're looking at?
Yes.
You know, my question about the customer usage. So you're saying small households about 7,500 gallons a month. You're saying roughly 100 gallons a day per person?
Roughly, yes.
Okay, all right. So if you had a household of 4, it'd be about 12,000 gallons a month. Is that right?
Correct.
Is that pretty good? I mean, it sounds like what you're talking about, we're doing pretty well in terms of conserving our water?
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, this is just the average household, small household. If you lived in the Brian Powell resident we used in the past, he has girls that love to take showers for a half hour at a time. His water bill would be a little bit more expensive.
These are like 18,000 gallons.
It probably was a few times. Kicking them out.
But as they graduate, he's probably seen his
There's
bill.
some coming back. I have 2 back.
So,
That's why I shower
So I'm
once a
moving
month.
from 7,500 back up to that 12,000.
Bryant, you love it and you know it.
I love it. That's right. Don't tell Renee.
Hey,
But if it-
Bryant, send them down to the multi-gen center for their showers.
No. No, we're good. It's just,
but on average, this is 2 to 3 people per household that would be using this amount of water. And with very little lawns here in Apache Junction, there's no too much irrigation outside, so this is mostly indoor use.
Right.
Is what's happening here.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Nope.
Okay. So these are some of the fees that we charge currently that do not affect our current customer base. So we have a residential system connection fee. This is to pay for increasing our boosters, building bigger tanks, building bigger pipelines. This is our system connection fee. Kind of like we talked about earlier, we have to upgrade our booster station 2 because we have new customers on there and it can't keep up with the demand they have. So we'd utilize these funds that we collected from new projects, new development, to upsize that to pay for their development, not our existing customers. Okay, so this doesn't affect our current customer base. We're looking, this current year's $7,590 per single family resident. So this is like a system connection fee or hookup fee that you go to other cities that you'd have to pay when you're developing your property. We've looked at the CPI for the last year. It's roughly 2.2%. So we're looking at a 2.2% increase to those costs. So if we had to go out and build this new facility, construction costs have went up by 2.2% in the last year. That's what we're asking for, that increase to pay for those. Multifamily, we'd be asking for the same thing, and same thing with a manufactured home or an RV space.
Chair? Mike, how does that compare with other municipalities?
I would say we're slightly higher. We have a little bit more development, but our fees were just recalculated roughly 2 years ago. So we're catching some of these higher rates of construction costs that have really spiked in the last probably 5 years, 3 to 5 years here in the valley. If you go out and try to construct a new house these days, it's not $250,000 anymore, it's $500,000. So it's slowly increasing. And some of the other valleys are starting to do their rate studies and catch up with these costs.
So currently, we're on the higher end of the scale.
I would say so at this point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Don't see no one?
Okay. Residential system connection fees for Radiance and Blossom Rock. They're building all the infrastructure for us and turning it over to us. So their rates are not based on infrastructure they have to build, but we still have equipment, we still have trucks we have to purchase, they still have buildings we have to pay for. That still they need to pay for. They're not building those for us. They're not paying for our new trucks. So they have to pay a smaller portion of that system connection fee. So they pay, instead of the $7,000 here, they pay $550 because they don't have to pay for that new well, that surface water plant, because they're paying for it up front rather than paying with the system connection fees. So they have a lower rate. And we're requesting a 2.2% increase, the same thing to build those facilities, to buy that new truck as a CPI adjustment.
Mr. Mayor,
Mm-hmm.
if I can inquire, when you say they pay up front, you mean that it's paid through the CFD, is that correct?
The developer's paying for it first, and then they will get reimbursed by the CFD when the CFD board approves it.
And that's over time, right?
That's over time, yes.
Okay, thank you.
The last one we have here is a water resource acquisition fee. As we talked about in the past, when we purchased water, the GRIC, so Gila River Indian Community Water, 10 years ago for $3,000 an acre foot. Our water resource acquisition fee at that time was $827. As we're aware, as we work with Bartlett, it's going to be $9,000 an acre foot. It's almost 3 times that price. So we put in that into our budget, went through analysis with Tistro Bice. They recommended it be for $3,486. Again, we're doing a CPI adjustment here to bring up those prices of water, to build that infrastructure, to get that water here, and to purchase those additional water supplies. We're adding to those fees so that when we're ready, like we're doing currently, to purchase a $20 million large purchase of water, we'll have that in the bank and we can purchase it. It may not be today, but it could be 5 years from now. So we want to make sure that we have those funds available to us when we need those water supplies. Any questions on those?
Mr. Chairman, so maybe I'm confused, Mike. So they would have to pay, like a single family, have to pay a connection fee plus then this water resource acquisition fee.
That is correct.
So over $10,000 just to
Just
put
to-
in the house and tap into
Yeah.
a water source.
That is correct. If you look at most system connection fees or development fees for cities, they're roughly anywhere between $15,000 to $20,000 before you even start building your house. But those are all the fees for the infrastructure. At that point in time, you're really acting as a developer when you do it on your own or building on a single-family lot and doing that. Development would pay for that and be in the price of your home. At this point in time, when these people try developing a single lot or something like that, that's why it's so expensive. But typically, it's built into the price of your home when you purchase it from a development to the south or different areas.
That's a big nut. Okay, thanks.
It's a big number for a $500 meter. And 2 hours of labor. So,
But as you can see, our CAP supplies and prices are not going down, and I don't want our existing customers to have to pay for those and sacrifice the things that they've already paid for and been customers of ours for a long time. Okay.
And just remember, I'll just add, remember the territory nature of this. This is just for Apache Junction Water District. Arizona Water has a whole other set of rules. Now it's done, so.
Right.
Okay. The last thing we have tonight is talk about our classification and compensation. The district is recommending the same as the city, roughly a one-step increase for all employees, which is about 2.5% to their salaries. And then also, our health benefits went up 4% this year, that the city and district would share those costs of those increases. Any questions on that? Okay. Last thing on my agenda here is upcoming schedule. Planning a tentative budget, which I believe is an open hearing those days, is on May 21st, 2024 at 6 p.m. here at City Council Chambers, 300 East Superstition Boulevard, Apache Junction, Arizona, 85119. And then our final budget on June 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in Apache Junction City Council Chambers, 300 East Superstition Boulevard, Apache Junction, Arizona, 85119. Any
Okay.
questions on that?
District Manager's report.
Your Honor, just real quick, want to say a huge thank you to Mike, his team for the Water Festival. I think this was year 10.
Yes.
And I don't know if you got some photos or anything, sometimes you do, but I just wanted to say thanks tonight publicly for the work that you guys do and bringing water education. Had a chance to speak to seniors today at the Senior Center and spend a lot of time talking about water. So understanding water in the desert is something that starts at a very young age. And we're thankful for the group of what Mike's team to do that.
I appreciate that, Brian. Mayor Wilson was out there, or Board Member Wilson was out there. It was a great day. We had over 200 fourth grade students out there, two schools from Apache Junction, one from Mesa, and then one from Superior. We had over 40 volunteers that came out and helped us teach these kids about water conservation, the water shed, groundwater, and then also water conservation. So great time out there. The fire department came out, the city supported us, Arizona Water Company was there. There was several other volunteer agencies that came out. This was all part of Project WET, which is part of the University of Arizona that comes out and helps support us and kick these off each year. They give students information to review and cover in class before they come out, so they at least have some idea what's happening out there, but we train them on water conservation and good things to do with water out there. Then we have a nice day at the end with the fire truck spraying all the kids with water, cooling them off. It was a little warm out there, a little over 90 degrees last week, so it was a good time, and it seemed like everybody did a good job out there. But appreciate all the help that went on with that.
Mayor,
Yes.
I appreciate it too. We got to start teaching our children about this at a very early age and continue to follow through their whole life, because it's the one resource that can go away on us. So we want to make sure we do it right. Getting these kids involved is just the best thing you can do.
Absolutely.
Okay. District Director's report.
So we had some questions in our last meeting about where we're at with the Lake Mead, Lake Powell, and our reservoirs to the north and how things were happening up here. So I want to give you an idea. These are today's actual water levels in Lake Powell. As you can see here, this blue line is actually where we're at this year. These other ones, this was 2019, 2021, I believe, to the lower. As you can see, we're gaining ground a little bit. We're not happy. We would like to be way back up here where we were back in probably 22, where we had a good wet winter, but we're not there yet. And roughly we're at 32% full, and that's 25 million acre feet that that lake can hold. So just give you an idea of how big it is, and that's just one of the lakes. So that's Lake Powell. The other lake is Lake Mead that helps service us. As you can see here, this 1075 mark is roughly right here, and this is where we go into our tier 1 shortage. So we roughly went over just 1075 this year for a minimal amount. They'll do their analysis here in August. In October, do water orders. But based on this information we have currently, as you can see, typically we fill and we'll slowly start draining and then level out here towards the middle to the end of the water year for them. Probably recommending a tier 1 shortage again. So probably our NIA water will be cut back by about 20% like it has been in the past. But we're gaining ground. We're not losing ground like we were the last couple of years. Again, this is only 35 to 36% full with 25 million acre feet of storage capacity on these reservoirs. So still got a long way to go to get up to that 50 to 100% where we'd like to see those lakes so we have plenty of supplies. The Salt River Project reservoirs, as you can see, we had a nice winter here in Arizona. We're looking currently, the total system is roughly at 93%. Doesn't look like we'll spill this year, but they're full, which is great news for us. But as you can see here, these reservoirs, even though they're full, they're only 2 million acre feet compared to that 50 million acre feet. So huge difference in the size of those. Even though these are full and this will help us get by for the next few years, this is not get us out of any kind of drought conditions. We'd like to see those other lakes at these levels, and then we'd be all happy. So give you a little background on that. Yes?
Mr. Chairman. So just for the Bartlett Dam, I think we'd said that you'd be raising the level of the dam a height of 10 feet, and that would add 300,000 acre feet of water, right?
Yes, sir.
When it finally is, project is done.
Yep. So as you can see here, the north, on the top part of this map here, roughly on the Salt River side, there's 2 million acre feet. And then on the Verde side, there's only 200,000 acre feet. With raising the dam 100 feet, we'll be gaining an extra capacity of 300,000 acre feet. It's a large chunk. Does it satisfy everything? No, but it's a big help for us here in Arizona. The other thing to understand is, I don't know if any of you guys have been on the flight with SRP, these water drainage areas for these entire areas. So the Salt River area is the same size as the Verde, but that you can see the huge difference in capacity that they could store. So hopefully in the future, as we raise this dam, we can store a lot more water on the Verde side also, saving those water for the future for us. Okay. Any questions on our lake levels or anything else? Yes, Tess?
Mike, go back to your last screen.
Mhm.
Now, those lines, the red one down there, or the green one from 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Well, last year was the hottest summer
Right.
on record. Why did that go up over the summer months?
So what happens is that a lot of this is all snow melt from the Colorado Rockies.
Uh-huh.
So typically they get all their snow over the winter, it's all frozen. And then as we get here in April, we see that snow melt start to come off and it raises all summer long as it comes off the mountains and slowly drains into these reservoirs. So it takes that time to get over here. Also on Lake Mead, they have a balancing act that they have to do between Lake Powell and Lake Mead. So typically around April, they start dumping water from Lake Powell into Lake Mead to balance those lakes out also.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other? Nope, continue on.
So one last thing I want to show you. I don't know if you guys were out at Blossom Rock this past weekend. They had a large event, and they sent us a nice aerial flyover here. I'll kind of talk through this a little bit as we go. But they sent us this video. If you guys didn't make it out there, this is their entrance, and this is the new park they've been working on. So this is the dog park and some different areas over here that they had tents set up and had all public outreach there. Talking to the project manager for that development, they're looking at possibly 6,000 people that showed up there for all their bands and food trucks and to visit all their model homes. But I mean, watching some of this, some of it looks actually fake, but this is truly a drone flight over it probably about 3 weeks ago. So as you can see, they planted a bunch of grass, a bunch of different entertainment areas here with beanbag tosses and different areas for your dog parks and other parks for people to hang out in. Then we move over to the new lake that they put in there, using non-potable water to fill that lake. And then part of their playground and some different areas, but very well landscaped, it's gonna look very nice in the end. But again, back to our water conservation, this is more desert landscaping than all this green areas. They kept that down to a minimal. And anything over 2.5 acres has to be watered by effluent, so non-potable water, so they're not using our drinking water as part of this. Did everybody get a chance to make it out here or to visit with them?
I think we're all.
We were all there.
So you guys seen, walking through here, some of the things that they have out here.
How much reparation's gonna come off the lake in the summertime?
Well, the fish are coming, I guess, in the next few weeks, so it will be a fishing lake, but it'll be catch and release. So those will be coming up here in the near future. They do have some more plans for some different areas. But pretty amazing out here on the project. Just thinking a year ago, this was just native desert. Nothing was going on out here of what they've accomplished in the past year.
Mike, do you know if they've started sales yet or selling?
I believe sales opened up after their open house this past week. They still, I guess a lot of the homes were 95% finished, but you still had to come in and get your finishing touches as a person. So they're thinking closings may not happen till 1st of June, July timeframe. So a little longer before we get some permanent customers. Again, in the last month, we've sent over 500 meters for all these lots out here. So we know it'll be happening here pretty soon.
So it's about a year apart. So about this time last year, we're getting ready for D.R. Horton to start. Their first homeowners were June.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And roughly, they did about 500 last year. So we're between the two of them, we're thinking at least 1,000 plus for next year.
And there's 5 different builders, right?
5 different builders: Lennar Homes, Pulte Homes, TriPoint,
What are
Brookfield,
the names? Brookfield's a builder.
and
so
David
is
Weekley.
David yeah.
So these homes may go a little faster because there's 5 builders compared to one builder like D.R. Horton. They may be able to put them up a little faster, but they're already moving on to their next phase. So phase 2, we received plans for and trying to get that approved so they can start developing their next phases. And they actually put that out to new home builders to start getting a request if they want another large parcel to build homes on in the near future. So definitely moving forward fast out there.
I met the folks from Great Hearts. It's a charter school, the one that's going to start out there, and I think fall of 26. So I'm not sure exactly where it's at. Is it by the big park at the beginning, or?
Yeah, it was at by the big park at the beginning.
Okay.
And then we've also met with ALA, which is going to be up by Warner and Meridian, and they want to open in 2025. So a lot of school developments going on out there and some different things that are happening. You guys, we don't have to watch the rest of it, but it was just kind of interesting on some of the things. I looked at this, they have some parks in general of, out in the middle of nowhere, and I asked the developer, I said, why do you put a park where there's no homes currently? Because they're not selling a lot, they're selling that park to somebody to buy a house next to it to see what could happen in this community. So that's why they want to build all these and have it ready for somebody when they move in. That's what they're selling, not just that home or that lot that they're looking at. Kind of interesting theory that I didn't think about. Well, that's all I had for tonight. Any other questions for me?
No more? Okay.
Thank you.
District Treasurer's Report? Don't hear anything?
No report.
Okay. And I will adjourn. Thank you.